We're getting ready to get started, and we're going to start with prayer. And so, let's look to God. God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this gathering and for this time that we will spend together today. We pray that you enlighten us, that you give us a clear vision of the direction we should choose in doing what is now before us. We pray for order, we pray for a good learning experience to take place, and that you would guide us in all that we say and do in this session. And for this we say thank you. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Give it to the president.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody can wear our canvas very well. We want everybody to change, everybody to hear me, because we have some rules in the canvas.
Bring the mic up.
Like, is that better? Yeah. And so is mine. So my name is Tim Lowe, so I want to make sure everybody knows how this was formed. It's not just a canvas form. There's 5 different organizations came together to do this, okay? We're going to start with each can. Well, let's start with ministers, Baptist Ministers Union. My brother, come up and kind of talk about how you join with us, and then we'll go to everybody else. Baptist Ministers Union.
Let me first of all thank Pastor Restream of the Greater Love Church. Can we just put our hands together? Sometimes you can go places and they're not hospitable, but they're hospitable. So we thank you for your hospitality. How this came together, I was called by Dr. Hamilton about partnering with them with a mayoral forum, and in talking, we called Greater Love. They had one scheduled, and I said, you know, it doesn't make sense for us to put on one and a few weeks later someone else. So I said, let's connect the dots, and we were able to connect the dots, and so we thank Greater Love. We thank our other partners. This is a time not of endorsement, but this is a time of education. Amen. To inform us on what's best for our city. Thank you.
Yeah, the other part of this is Baptist Ministers Union. CCSA is going to come up. They're a part of this.
Thank you. It's good to be here this evening. What a beautiful facility this is. God bless you, Dr. Gillespie, and to all of you that are present on tonight. We were asked to join in with this endeavor. Pastor Nelson got in touch with me. The CCSA is an organization that was founded by Dr. Ether and Walker in 1999. It's made up of a coalition of pastors interdenomination from different denominations, and the goal is to just come together and be a voice for our community, to those who are underserved in our community. our organization has given out over $2 million in scholarships with the help of sponsors, sales, Spurs, Southwest Research, and other organizations. So we're so excited to be a part of this tonight. This is going to be a historical election, and we do need to be educated and informed on how to vote in this coming election. And we're excited about being here on tonight. Bless you.
Thank you. The third partner that joined us, thank you, Reverend. The third partner that joined us with the Deltas who helped with the food and all the arrangements over inside. We'll have her come up and kind of talk about what the Deltas do. I'm sure y'all already know that, but their partnership with us and us with them.
Good evening. My name is Janet Graham, I'm the president of the Delta Sigma Theta San Antonio Alumni Chapter. First, I want to say just thank you for coming out tonight, taking time to participate in this forum and engage in the democratic process. Your presence here is a powerful act of civic responsibility. Delta Sigma Theta was founded on a legacy of social action. So what we're all about, with our very first public act being the 1913 Women's Suffrage March. The legacy goes on through the work we do here. We do it nationally, worldwide, and here in San Antonio. We are a nonpartisan organization, and we're deeply committed to voter education and empowerment. Now, we do give back into the community through education, scholarships. We have a partnership with Cameron Elementary School, supporting them in every way we need to. Health and wellness, from mental health care to maternal, black maternal health and maternal health care. We also do cultural events like the Soul Santa program on the east side in partnership with the Boys Club, which is a family event where we want the whole family out. It's totally free, but it's a day of fellowship, cultural enrichment, and also just a way to celebrate the holiday spirit. In addition to that, we have global and family support that we do all around the world. Now today, we're here to talk about what we know, and to give a voice to the democratic process. Our chair here in the San Antonio area is Dr. Linda Houghton, who you heard mentioned was instrumental in putting this together. So I'm going to ask her to come up to share with you just some of what the Social Action Committee for our organization does. Also here are women who are part of that Social Action Committee who are amazing. They're everywhere. So you've probably seen them at the event where there was voting to take place. Dr. Houghton.
Thank you. I want to applaud each of you all for coming out to be informed about this upcoming election. Delta Sigma Theta has been doing social action since 1913 here in San Antonio. The chapter, Delta Sigma Theta, was a plaintiff in the Texas Senate Bill 1, and we were in court for 6 weeks, testifying and present every single day of that trial. And because of it, it was changed that persons with disabilities can have assistance without swearing an oath, changing the mailing ballots where you don't have to use your social security number and your or your driver's license number. So we've been fighting the fight, and partnership is important. We go to Delta Days in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and they really, really push collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. So we were going to do the mayor's forum, but I said, hey, we did Empowerment Sunday with Baptist Ministers Union where we registered voters in 20 churches across the city. So why not do this forum together? And Pastor Kevin Nelson always answers my phone calls. So we ended up going in with DT Can, and so we're in here working on the format of how this goes, making sure you're comfortable, fed. And if you're not registered to vote, we have our voluntary deputy registrars here who can register you or check to see if you are registered. Usually if you come after this, you are, but you can never, we open the doors of the church every day, every Sunday, right? So if you're not registered to vote, our BDRs are over here in the back. And thank you again for coming, for being involved, and being concerned about your community.
We want to recognize our political we'll recognize all our political people here, starting with former City Councilor Mario Salas. We just kind of stand and raise his hand. Former councilman, Keith Tony, to the left, I'm sorry. All the pastors group, there's a couple of groups, all the pastors to stand up, who are here in the room right now. That's it. Everybody know who they are. Everybody all participate, they all participate. And again, let us use this place. The partnership we put together here, which is now in order. Many of you know what you heard about it. Mostly it was positive, it wasn't, I'm sorry. But we don't have, in our community specifically, any kind of tax whatsoever. We have a lot of things where people run around from location to location saying they represent the black community and they do this, that, and the other. But we try to put together, and several members here in the room have a standing in it, or if they don't want to, they don't have to, where we would take a decision and look at it in your best interest, not in ours, but in your best interest, and look at certain candidates who may or may not make the best decisions for us. Okay? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about us. These side have very special needs. Okay? So when these two came together, several people in the room, if we don't mind, if you guys don't have a problem with that, standing, you were part of D2 so everybody kind of see that. Now, please. Now, it's about 18, so that's about a half. Okay, I'm already saying that's about half. But the whole purpose of it is what you see on the left and right of it. The board, well, first of all, D2K is a 501c4. Okay? 501c4. That allows us to endorse. We're going to endorse. We're not asking you to participate, but we're going to make a decision in a couple of days of who we're going to go for and what our decision is going to be. We did that before the election. We're going to do it again in the runoff. Okay? So we'll make sure everybody knows that. But nobody here in the participate in that, and I ask the ministers, nor the Delta, and nobody who joined us in this partnership is making that decision. It's D2K. So I'm going to make sure that we're clear about that. Second, we want to thank all of you for coming, and hopefully you'll share some ideas so you'll understand how important it is for us to have a PAC that makes decisions based upon our community. I've been told that these occasions it's been some ideas and it's worked at, but I don't know if we've ever really done it. And as I listen to more people before I decided to take the opportunity to lead it, I haven't heard too much of it being executed. Perfect example, and people in Louisville heard about this, is our last two elections. In District 2, the last election, now this was the last one, we had 10 people running. 10 people running. This one we had 9. Okay, so anybody can run if they want to run, but if we can't collectively, like the Deltas did with us and we did with them, like the Ministers Union did with us and we did with them, we can't join forces and make a decision about the community. They were going to always cannibalize each other and election day. We get nothing with regards to us. D2K wants to be an arm that can do that as far as bringing people together. We hope you'll join us and your comments in the community where we did this, we did that, you didn't quite understand it. Ask us, and we'll tell you why we made a certain decision. Because we can make some other decisions, it might be a little bit adversarial and controversial, because you may not know why we're doing that. But we're doing it based upon how we see what's best for people. Okay? Okay, so I have a good friend of the community come up here. Everybody knows Joe Linson. I'm going to pop up for a minute. He's going to talk a little bit about his world. That's what the things he does.
Everybody, while Joe is coming, and before he starts, and Ken mentioned welcoming all the pastors, but one in particular, and that's the pastor who got this great facility up off the ground. And that's Reverend Dr. Gillespie. You still, there he is. There he is. Let's welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I too want to say that Reverend Gillespie, I've done a lot of pastor ministry, one of my favorites. And for a particular reason, he doesn't mind getting out of the pulpit and getting with the people. That's very important. A lot of pastors always hang around this. Get out there and talk to people to learn a whole lot. Here's what I want to do. A lot of you guys, ladies, know me from Tony G's and Chelsea King and all that. That's great. But I am a educated in political science. I graduated at UT Dallas in 1979 in political science and criminal justice. And with me, politics is an avocation. Okay, I've never job and all that, but I'm I'm more interested in telling you, here's where I'm coming from. I'm more interested in, I don't have that much time. The first guy got up talking about education, I heard somebody else talk about education. That's fantastic. Let me define politics. Politics is who gets what, when, where, and why, and what are the consequences for us. Okay? That's politics. I've heard people say that I don't get involved in politics. I'm not political. If you drink water, if you breathe air, if you walk on the streets, you are political. But you're paying for all of that. So everybody's in politics. Don't let anybody fool you. Let me get that out of the way. Second, I want to tell you about, I see politics and economics hand in hand. And I'm coming from a straight African-American perspective. I'm 75 years old, so I'm old enough to know I couldn't drink out of water fountains and all that stuff went down. When I was, as I told you, and I was born in 1950, so that tells you all those civil rights bills and acts and all of that, I was affected like the rest of y'all. But we kept on fighting with that. Let's keep that in mind. As it relates, I'm going to talk about this mayor's race, and I'm going to talk about it from what's important to black people. The three things you got to keep in mind: what government spends this money on. Professional services, that's lawyers, accountants, architects, engineers, all of that. Procurement, that's buying goods and services. This is a $4 billion city hall down here, okay? And the last part is hard-to-get construction. Contractors built this building, all the buildings you see. So that's where the money is. And how you're going to get a part of it is what you should be concerned with in those three areas, okay? Now, we call this city council election non-partisan. Don't mind with that. I mean, that's what they call it. But if you may notice, every time they mention Rolando Palos, for example, they say, well, he's Greg Allen. Okay, that's fine. Here's what you need to keep in mind. We've got to be able to do like the Jewish spirit does. No permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent issues as it affects black people. Okay? And I'm just not going to apologize for that because too often we get caught in this label, whether he's Republican, he's a Democrat, he's this, that, who cares? If they deliver to this community our fair share of the tax money we're paying in, that's all I'm about. That's all you all be about. We should have an African American agenda that we had to one of these people. And both of them. I can say, here it is. CCA, Baptist Ministers Union, these other groups. We're all on the same page as Ken's talking about, and say, here are 10 things that black folks in this county need to make sure we involved in. I mean, who you're hiring on your staff. Okay? How much of this model is going to pass? Project model will happen. Get over it. But there are ways we're going to fund and all that. But at the end of the day, you're funding it because they got to have all the infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the lighting, the safety. It's got to get to this new fancy new building. Who's going to do that? Are you going to get a piece of it? Our engineers, our architects, our contractors? You've got to lay down the law and say, look, we're citizens too, we're paying taxes over here. I'm citizens. Well, these have been out of the loop. That's because that's our fault. We need to have an agenda and lay it out. I got some ideas. I don't have time to lay them all out for you, but you can't know where I'm coming from. We've got to have our fair share of everything that's going on here. Okay? We used to be the biggest minority, not anymore. Of course, if Africa was right next to us, we'd be right there again. And I'm going to say it's not going to be popular. We're born too many about black people. We ought to be over 100-some million black people, but we're losing a lot of them. This is where it is. We need to understand this. We've got to stick together. It's about unity for us. That does not mean I'm against Hispanics. I'm not against anybody, but I'm for us. And that's the attitude that we have to take. You can love these people a lot, who cares? Now, I'm going to tell you some other thing. This is the politics of it. This is a Republican state. Democrats ain't gonna stay around in 30 years. Okay?
Let me say something, sir. Can I call Hispanic to this room?
I'm not talking like that.
I'm talking about it.
Go ahead.
I take offense to you not mentioning them. This is a mayoral, we didn't come here, this ain't a black agenda.
Okay, that's fine. I have my Hispanic friends, and I've got a lot of them. Rolando is the guy I'm voting for. He's Hispanic. But I'm gonna tell you guys something. And Rick, I'm gonna tell you why I'm doing this and why you should consider it. I just say how to vote, I'll tell you what to consider. Like I said, this is a Democratic county. I got that. I'm not disputing that. But if Austin is controlled by the Republicans and Washington, D.C. is controlled by the Republicans, we've got to be pragmatic. And I think over the next 4 years, whoever sits in that mayor seat is going to have to deal with Austin and going to have to deal with Washington. His bases are here. So we're going to have to look at things totally different. Now, I know this is outside of talking about conference zone because I was good. I was good at the election judge as a Democrat. But I finally worked my way to the point where I realized what it's really about for us. And it's about what I just told you. We got to make sure we're getting our fair share. I don't give a darn who's in the seat. But I'm saying roll him for this reason only. He's connected to Austin. He's connected to D.C. and have a lot of economic development. So that's important to us. So make sure when you talk to these people, make sure you let them know you're about that. Thank you.
All right, so we're getting ready to bring the candidates in. So here's the rule. We have 5 questions for them. Neither one of them has seen the questions. We're going to bring it in out of the green room here shortly. We'd like everybody to temper their comments. You know, they say something you like. Everybody temper their comments. Let them finish. And then I think after those 5 questions asked, about each one of them, then you'll be able to ask something from the floor. Okay? I think that's about it. Everybody's here now. The last person just showed up, so they're all in the green room right now. They're ready to bring them in. Remember, so you guys don't forget, we have plenty of sandwiches and other food left over here. So as we wrap up, please take some of that with you, soft drinks and everything else. Okay, here we go. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions. We have 5 questions. We're going to do a 2-minute, well, let's say a 3-minute introduction. You kind of speak about yourself. We'll start with you.
Hi folks, it's good to be back here. We were here a couple months ago when it was many of us, so it's nice to be back with you. Thank you for the time, thank you for the opportunity. It's funny, my own church is really right just down the road, Grigsby and 410 on the other side, something you miss to do. So each weekend when I drive through this neighborhood, it's always a stark reminder that our city must do better to meet the needs in our community equally, right? I grew up on the far west side of town. I went to John Jay High School. I'm a proud first-generation American. My mom came to this country chasing the American dream. She graduated from the #1 university in the Philippines, but yes, wanted a chance at the American dream. So she came here as a domestic helper. She said, you know I if I go to that country, even in that capacity, if I'm willing to work hard, the sky's the limit. So she just reminded my sister and I that we were lucky, not smart, lucky, to have been born here, and we have to give back. I'm proud to have served our country as an Air Force intelligence officer, as an Iraq War veteran, and I most recently served as the Undersecretary of the Air Force, so the number 2 person of the Air Force and Space Force. Managed a large budget, $173 billion, led 600,000 folks. I am also most proud, though, of the ways in which I was able to knock down barriers to ensure that those serving our country could do so to their full potential. I look forward to sharing some of that throughout our discussion very shortly. I have shared on my website the things I'd like to work on in the first 100 days. I think we all know, even if we had a different president, different governor, many of the challenges and opportunities in our community would be the same, right? Too many kids not meeting that level, math skills not at level, too many folks challenged with housing costs each month, too many delayed construction projects in our community, and certainly we want much more transparency around how some of the tax dollars are spent in our community, especially on major projects like Project Marvel. So I look forward to the discussion today to make sure that you have all your questions answered as we are just 5 days out from the start of early voting. But this is really an opportunity to make sure that as the 100-day plan lays out, ways in which we can bring down costs where we can, make smart investments where we must, and certainly bring transparency back to some of those major investments. And I am committed to being a mayor for all. That's how I've dedicated my life to public service, uplifting others, ensuring they can serve to their full potential. And I look forward to doing that as your next mayor.
Good afternoon, Rolando Pablos. First of all, I want to thank all the veterans in the room. Who are the veterans in the room? Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, and also to our school teachers, our other school teachers here. We have to make sure that we identify those individuals. Thank you very much, and thank them. I came to San Antonio in 1985, and it was a completely different city. We were a smaller town, obviously. We keep growing and growing and growing. But as things change, there's one thing that hasn't changed, and that is our poverty rate. Back in 1967, our poverty rate was 18%, and today it's still 18%. I ask you, why hasn't it changed? We have so many people living paycheck to paycheck. We have so many of our kids not graduating from school. That is what bothers me right now, and that's why I'm running. I want to make sure that we start addressing those issues that we haven't been able to address before in a proper manner. We have to tackle poverty because poverty is a root condition that drives the problems that we have today. Crime, homelessness, neighborhood blight, public health issues. Those are the things that we have to be focused on. And my approach is very simple. It's bringing in quality jobs, making sure that people can earn better paychecks, making sure that we have quality education, that our kids are learning and moving on beyond high school and into trade schools or college. And also making sure that taxpayer money is protected. We work very hard for our money, and when we pay taxes, we need to make sure that that money is being spent wisely. And that's what I want to be able to do. Once we start the process of eradicating poverty, then the other things will start taking care of themselves as well. So I look forward to working with everyone. I am here to represent everyone. I'm not representing Governor Abbott or any other special interest anywhere, whether it's Texas or Washington. I'm here to represent you. I will go fight for you, and yes, I will leverage those relationships, but I will make sure that I fight for you so we can bring those funds home that we need so desperately. I will focus on those areas that have been ignored for so long. And like I said, I am committed to it, and I'm looking forward to our conversation this evening. Thank you.
So, what contributions have you made prior to announcing your candidacy?
I most recently served as the Undersecretary of the Air Force. I was the first, thank you. I was the first woman of color, the first out-lesbian to serve in that capacity. And for me, it was very important to understand how some of our approaches were not allowing us to fully access the talent in the force. One of the things that I remember getting as soon as we were in the seat, there was a disparity briefing, and it showed the disparities by who was getting promoted, who was getting selected for certain assignments. The They briefed it out first by race and ethnicity, and then they briefed it out by gender. And I just thought that was really interesting that you wouldn't also look at the intersection. And I said, go look at the intersection. Because if you think those numbers are bad, look at the intersection. I tasked them to go look at the intersection, and what it showed very clearly was that the progress of white women was masking the lack of progress of women of color. But had we not had a voice at the table saying, hey, go look at that data one level deeper, we would not have gotten to understand the unique challenges of 10% of the force, which was women of color. I was very proud to be able to highlight that, because then what that showed folks is these things we need to address, because if we're serious about saying that when you come and serve in the Department of the Air Force, you're going to be able to serve to your full potential, we have to recognize not everybody comes and is able to access that at that same point. But, so when I bring that level of analysis, that's the same level of analysis I'm going to be looking at when we're determining who gets city contracts, right? Because we can have proclamations, we can have days and all these other things, but at the end of the day, we really need to make sure our policies and processes are cutting people in where we can, and enabling them to be able to put food on the table as well. So I have a record of doing that, making sure we're challenging biases, identifying assumptions, and then, yes, putting processes in place to make sure we are cutting people in.
Thank you. Same question. So what are my contributions to this community? Let me tell you, you can go on my website, pablosurveyor.com, and I have posted my resume. So you can see the amount of involvement that I've had in this community. I've fought for small business. I was actually the chairman of the SPADA committee when we rolled out the ordinance that was supposed to protect our small business owners. I was there with Renee Watson. Joe, we fought to get into the convention center. I was there with you. I have fought for small business. I have fought for our community, particularly with disabilities. We have a daughter with disabilities. I just rolled off the board of Morgan's Wonderland. I still sit on the board of Special Olympics Texas. I've worked with Haven for Hope for years. Phil Harberger appointed me to the Homelessness Task Force, so we can take a look at how we can help individuals that don't want to be confined. A lot of them want to sleep under the stars, so we got to be able to work with them and help them. I've chaired the Hispanic Chamber Board. I understand what small businesses go through. I'm a small business owner. I've started several businesses, and I still, to this day, own my own business, so I understand the agony that it feels when you don't know if you're going to make payroll. I understand what it's like to get declined for a loan. So these are the involvements that I've had in this community. I've been a professor of tourism. I've taught hospitality management. I brought the Conrad Hilton College to the east side. So my work in this community is long, and let me tell you, I will continue to do that. And now as mayor, I'll make sure that we double down and include every single one of you, give you a seat at the table and a voice in the conversation as we move this community forward. Thank you.
Thanks. Everybody has an affordable housing problem, not just San Antonio, but ours is substantial. What are your plans to promote and support affordable housing?
I'm glad Rolando brought up Mayor Phil Harberger. He's one of the people that's endorsing me in this race as a school Castro, as the state senator Raul Gutierrez, state senator Jose Menendez, and all those folks are listed on my website. I'm very proud of that level of support because again, when they look at my record of public service and commitment to our community, it's unmatched. When we think about affordable housing, I think it's important that we are addressing this in a way that people are actually living in. So not only do we need to be much more aggressive, we've got 95,000 people that are housing insecure in our community based on our city's own strategic housing implementation plan. We have 67,000 folks that are on the wait list of Opportunity Home. So what I put on my website are the things in the first 100 days. Hey, city staff, help us understand how we can go faster on a couple kinds of projects, right? Those projects that are 70 to 100% affordable, that co-locate childcare, that help us meet our transit-oriented objectives. How can we go faster on those things? Because most folks only don't have a housing challenge. They also have a transit challenge or a childcare challenge. I think it's also important when we're thinking about housing affordability, when thinking about how thoughtful housing projects can help us meet our other community objectives. One when I talked to the leaders of SAISD, and unfortunately all the schools closing, I asked them, hey, how could the city have helped? And they said affordable housing, right? So family units, so that those schools have kids to go there so they don't close. So being aggressive, being bullish on that is how I would focus our efforts. 4,000 units is all that was allotted in the 2022 bond. I think we have to be much more aggressive given the need in our community. Folks working downtown, for example, they shouldn't have to live in almost Medina County to be able to afford a home. Okay, we have to have housing diversity. Now is the time to make sure, though, that our downtown doesn't go the way of San Francisco or Austin, but it's going to take leaders that say, hey, everybody should have an opportunity to live throughout our community affordably.
I think we need to look at the root cause of this situation. First, we need to start at our families' incomes. They're too low. We have depressed incomes in the city. We have to work with our community to raise the income level first and foremost. And the way we're going to do that is through aggressive job creation, bringing investment into this county. So on one side, you want to raise the income, the salaries. On the other side, there are many issues, many reasons why people can't afford their homes, whether it's property taxes, whether it's interest rates, whether we have impediments that are caused by government. We have a lot of issues that are causing this situation, so why not tackle each one of them at a time? With property taxes, what about freezing property taxes for everyone? I've already proposed that. I have my taxpayer protection plan. Taxpayer timeout will allow all of us to take a breather on property taxes. Fort Worth has done it, El Paso's done it, we can do it here. The other thing is, why not get government out of the way? Let's look at the regulations that are preventing the supply from increasing. There are a lot of land use provisions that are preventing that from happening. So I would like to go in and take a look. Let's take a look at the one issue that prevents a builder from building or prevents a dwelling unit from taking place. The other thing is we have to ensure that as we continue to promote our SHIP program and the other very creative ways of getting homes to be affordable for people, being supportive of that. And we'll have an opportunity to do it coming up. So I think it's a mix of strategies and tactics that we need to apply. But I still go back to the first thing I told you about. I really want to work on improving the revenue, the income of our community, and the only way we're going to do that is by bringing in high-quality jobs.
So I play in this space a lot from a private equity standpoint, and both candidates, I'm tell you, the problem is infrastructure. I want to make sure you guys know that too. Everybody get up here and tell you that we need to focus on 2 or 3 different things. The main problem is infrastructure. If you have a $150,000 house, and the infrastructure is 20 to 30% before you even build a house, it makes it unaffordable for us who are everyday man and women working. We have our bonds that we're spending, we raise money for, we go directly for infrastructure to take care of streets, sidewalks, curbs, and other kind of municipality expenses so that we can have affordable homes. That's the only, we're not the only one in the country that's having this problem. Everybody in the country has this problem. But that's the way it's going to be fixed. You look at A&M studies and all the other studies around the country. Infrastructure stops you from having an affordable home. Because the bill is not going to eat that 30 or 40%. He's going to pass it on to you. Okay, so the next question. List your policy proposals to improve infrastructure and economic health in the underserved areas. We'll start with you this time.
So when we look at infrastructure, it includes our roads, it includes our utilities. The one thing right now that bothers me the most about our utilities is the fact that we're wasting over 20 billion gallons of water a year in jobs. These are old pipes that are leaking. And as we struggle to bring in water and conserve water, we have this situation that is really taking a toll. And I consider this to be, an environmental hazard here. So the first thing I would do is I would go out and look for state and federal monies. There are state and federal monies that can help us take care of this situation. Because what we can't be doing is increasing rates on everyone. So water rates have to remain low. affordable. We have to make sure that our supply is also good. And right now, we have our aquifer situation is being threatened. We've done a good job with desalination plant in our pipe that's coming down. So that's a really important situation to look like. Same thing with our electric utility. We have to make sure that we keep up with the demand. Right now, we're trying to catch up. We don't have enough transmission. And we are going to get rate increases that are being threatened. I want to be able to knock those down. We cannot be charging so much for electricity to all of us. So we have to also make sure that we're running those entities with the same discipline as business. With respect to streets, yes, we're going to need bond money for all that, but we have to be able to identify where the biggest needs are first. So we have to go to those places around town that have been neglected over the years and go in there and use that bond money for that. Thank you. Same question.
I'm thankful when we talk about poverty and the contributors, and I guess infrastructure is part of that. But I think we also have to make sure that the person fighting for us is a credible leader in that way, which is why I am thankful to be endorsed by many organizations that are fighting for working people. I'm endorsed by several unions, by the Central Valley Labor Council, by the CWA, by teachers, by our communication workers. My opponent has 0 endorsements in that space. So when we talk about addressing poverty, not only do I have a plan to do that, I am supported by people that are actually working to do that every single day. I think it's important when we are also talking about addressing poverty, we don't leave money on the table. Okay, we cannot leave money on the table. And one way to do that is with this project, Project Marble. Now, we were asked, the San Antonio Express News asked us, hey, what do you think is the appropriate level of city funding that should go toward that new sports arena? Rolando Pablo said 50%. So he wants 50% of city funding, or city funding to pay for up to 50% of the new cost for that. We don't know how much it's going to cost, we don't know who's going to pay, and we don't know the benefits to our community. Okay, absent those 3 questions, why are we talking about 50%? Right? Talk to me about how the community is going to benefit, and then we can talk about what the city's ponies up. You all, I mean, there's so many parts of our community that don't have the infrastructure because we've signed up to these bad deals. And so I'm very concerned when somebody answers that way when we don't know how the community is going to benefit. I've been very clear, hey, why can't we think about this Project Marble deal as a way to maybe pay for example, fully meeting the need for pre-K in our community? You don't negotiate against yourself, right? You go in there and say, okay, what does this actually look like? Let's have the numbers before we sign our community up. Now you can say, Gina, how did you answer that question? You know what, I did it. I wasn't going to be bullied into answering some survey if I don't have the information to answer it appropriately, okay?
Dr. Marvel was the next question, so we'll let you address what she said about you as well as Project Marvel.
So we want to make sure to understand that Project Marble is a jobs creation program. It's an economic development program. It's got to make sense for the community. And you'll have the opportunity to vote for whatever the structure is. Right now, it's been kept under wraps. They've been negotiating behind closed doors. What I want to make sure is that we have something that allows us to compete with other cities, that allows us to attract more tourism, more investment in this community. We definitely could benefit from a larger convention center. We cannot be vilifying the Alamo Dome. The Alamo Dome just produced $400 million of economic impact with the Final Four. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And the arena will do the same thing. But it has to make sense. It has to make sense for the community. I want to go out into the rest of the country and look at best practices. What is it that is happening out there? And the best practice is a 50-50 split, but it's not anything that is conclusive. That was asked of me in a survey. But that's it. I have no control over it. As a matter of fact, I don't like the way the package was put together. So I would want to take a look at it again. I don't like the components. I don't like how it's being pitched. I don't even like the name. But before we do any of that, we have to make sure that we take care of the elephant in the room, which is our cross-bank center and that entire part of the world. I've already been working to make sure that Coca-Cola can have an opportunity to move so that we can add more space, so we can truly create that. Been working with the rodeo to find out what we can do. Texas A&M University. There are a lot of opportunities that we can have here for our own complex that can take place and really be a part of our rodeo and our agriculture community. So look, right now, we just have to make sure that whatever it is that the taxpayers get a good deal. And that's what I plan to do.
Okay, thank you. Really, the Work program is both candidates have talked about how we can improve the community. You cannot pay for certain things if you don't have a job and we don't get people in critical positions. So we'll let each person talk about really your work and how you can improve that in your candidacy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go. Oh, the last question you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to elaborate more on Project Marvel. I don't think a best practice is signing our city up for 50% of a new arena when we don't know what 50% is. Is 50% a billion? Is it 2 billion? Is it 750 million? There may be, and I'm optimistic, maybe there is an opportunity for this to be, again, a generational investment for us to be able to address our generational inequities. And we'll know that number as we get more into the details, and then we can talk about what the city pays, right? This process has focused a lot on how we're going to pay for it, and not nearly enough on how the community is going to benefit, right? I think we should start with the community benefit agreement, and then we help people understand how this is really good for the entire city. Because I went to Tommy Calvert's town hall, where he brought folks in, and folks were rightly pissed off about the lack of, frankly, the broken promises that they had seen in their community. And yes, still looking across at Coca-Cola trucks and the lack of development as a result, and now potentially with what would be left, because no one wants, again, an Astrodome like in Houston, right? So I think it's important that when we're looking at these things, we ask the tough questions, we don't negotiate against ourselves, and there may be, again, a city component to this. If I give you $1, you give me $45 back, that's a great deal. If I give you $1 and you give me 75 cents back, that's a terrible deal. I was bored at night, but not last night, right? Okay. So these are the types of questions we have to ask. Let me just say, look, we're in church, right? We got to speak truth. Okay, on the utility piece, I think this is really important. Rolando Pablo served as a utility commissioner. When he was on that commission, as a commissioner, he voted to increase the electricity cap, right, from $3,000 to $9,000. Texas AARP said, don't do that. You don't know how it's going to affect vulnerable people, especially on those on fixed income. We did it anyways. Storm Uri happened. You and I read all those stories of those folks on fixed income getting a $16,000 utility bill. That is what he did on his watch.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, but I didn't read it. We got these different questions people texting me. Anyway, so, employment. We want to talk about the employment piece. How would you improve the current workforce program they have?
I think the Ready Work program, and I really credit Ron for his leadership in bringing this forward. I think it's an excellent example of where our city's heart is in the right place. And now the data has shown, as we've been doing this for several years, that there's some room for improvement, okay? Just over 2,000 folks have gone through that program, but 25% of those folks are still not in an approved job after 12 months. That means we're not training people to a need in our community, or they would just walk right into a job. So I think the new metric should be 90% of folks in an approved job within 90 days, because that means we're training people to a need in our community. I went to go visit a Ready to Work partner in our community healthcare professionals. They train medical folks. It's not the doctor, it's not the nurse, but it's everyone else in that clinic making it run. Admin, billing, med tech, right? We haven't figured out how to draw blood via AI yet, right? So we still need these good folks. And it was important for me to go meet with those students too. The average student there, Ready to Work student, is a 26-year-old Latina, a couple kids, single mom. Some of them spent some time at St. Philip's or Palo Alto, but they want to be on a different path. They are there with the help of a $7,300 Pell Grant. right? So it's important when we're looking at what's happening at the federal level, how that could impact the economic livelihood and the skills that we're looking for in our community. So I think it's a program that we can improve upon and make sure that we're training people to need in our community. Oh, by the way, you gotta be ready to work in San Antonio. I've talked to some city council folks, and we lose a lot of people to Houston because Houston pays more. So I want to make sure that we are training people to work here. I also don't agree, I don't believe that we should be funding multi-million-dollar corporations' internal training programs. That's stuff that they were going to do already. We should not subsidize that just to juice the numbers, which is how it's currently being done.
So absolutely agree that we need to invest in training, but at the same time, we can train people, but if they don't have any jobs to go to, then that money would have been wasted. So we have to work in tandem. We have to work to train individuals, but also bring those jobs in so they can actually take the jobs. Ready to work is a great idea. It was just mismanaged. We have to make sure that we take it and we get it to work at peak efficiency. We have to have accountability, not just in Ready to Work, but in every other city program, in every department, every board and commission. We have to have accountability standards. We have to make sure that your taxpayer money is used wisely. And with Ready to Work, I don't know that we've got to that point, but I'm willing to give it a try. Because it is a good program, and as I go out into the world and bring companies that will create new jobs, then we can start matching with that. So it's important that we invest, continue to invest in both training and job creation.
Okay, so what we'd like to do now is some questions from the audience. We're going to tell you how this is going to work. I'm going to hold the microphone. I'm going to hold the microphone. Be clear. You get a very short sentence, or your sentence will be ended. A very short sentence, one question. We're going to start with Gina. And who's first? You go. Here we go. Yes, ma'am. Let's step around.
So we can hear you
We can hear you.
Oh,
We're video here.
oh my gosh, all right. Okay, fine, hello. So I just recently moved back from being in New York City for 20 years. I'm from San Antonio, born and raised. And one of the things that I saw in the paper back in the fall of 2024 that was disheartening was that the NWBE 30% discretionary allocation for all minorities, Black, Brown, Hispanic, the city council decided to vote against that because they said, well, the data is showing us that we've hit our numbers, but you can clearly see in the real world it does not happen. So I'm curious to see from both parties, because it's beyond DEIB, it's really beyond that. So I'm curious to see in terms of what each of your offices would be interested in doing to either reinstate that or what their plans are to support.
Thank you. Gina, we'll start with you. Is that okay? 1 minute.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. I mean, I think in general, when we're looking at city contracts and any opportunities, we've got to make sure that we are in fact meeting the goals that we have set for ourselves. And when we're not meeting that, that's when we work with city staff and saying, what's going on here? Because when we have a goal, but there's no progress toward that, and we're not helping people actually achieve that, then people don't believe that that's something that we're actually committed to. So I would commit to looking at the data and working with the city staff, as well as stakeholders like yourself and others in the community to say, what would help us better meet this goal that we all think is really important.
You have another minute.
You have another minute. Good.
So I can actually speak from experience. Like I said earlier, I was the chairman of the SPADA committee when we put this out. We work to make sure that we protect our minority-owned businesses. I'm a minority-owned business owner. I can speak from experience. I know what it's like to bid on these contracts and not qualify, particularly for bonding. So you need a mayor who can actually understand, because he has an experience not only in setting the policy, but also part of the business, being part of the business community. And look, as we see the degradation of the original intent, we have to get back to where we were. And we have to be able to push back, because I want to see small businesses grow. Small businesses are the engine of this economy. They are the largest employers in this community, so we have to support them. We can't frustrate them, and we certainly have to be able to work with them to get that growth that they need. Thank you.
Okay, we start over here on this side. He said, this is the salute. I don't know how to mention you. Go ahead. service him.
You know, military, I've been living here for 30 years now. And the question here is that we have a lot of veterans who are on the street encamping, visiting them every day. How are we going to address the encampment, the homeless encampment in San Antonio, all over the city?
If you go to my website, I have my veteran action plan that addresses that. It also addresses making sure that our veterans are able to go get a job, able to get hired, able to get the health care that they need. It's all there. It's in there. The other thing is I'm also addressing the opportunities with our military here. I'm already in talks with folks at the Pentagon about this Army South and Army North situation that we're facing. So I'm already leveraging those relationships that are necessary, not only for our veterans, but also military spouses. Very important. Thank you.
As an Air Force veteran, Iraq War veteran myself, and then having just served as the Undersecretary, I know it's really important that we always honor the promise that we made to my fellow veterans. It breaks my heart, and it's unfortunate that these cuts at the federal level are impacting, for example, the VA in our own community. So it's not just what is happening to our city budget. As a leader, I'm looking at this. I'm also looking at what are all the other things that are impacting the quality of life, in particular of our veterans in this community. I get my own care at Audi or at the clinic on 151. So I already know it's how hard it is already to get an appointment. And now as they are slashing funding for the VA, not only they're firing veterans in that process, and making it that much harder for veterans in our community to get the care that they need. And in particular, mental health care has already been always a challenge, which we are unfortunately seeing with the unhoused in our community. I think when we are looking at addressing the unhoused in particular, though, we've got to look at the prevention, right? So the mental health piece of this, there's the fentanyl crisis, the substance abuse crisis that unfortunately is plaguing many in our community. We also have to invest in the infrastructure for people to go into, right? Permanent supportive housing. We don't have nearly enough beds for those experiencing mental health care challenges. And then, yes, I sat down with Opportunity Home. Ultimately, we want to go from unhoused to contributing member of our community. So the whole spectrum of helping people re-enter our community, make sure they've got a job, make sure they are healthy, that is the track that I will look on and work with our community partners at every level to make sure we're addressing those things.
Okay, let's go, we're gonna do this side, and I'll come back over there. This side, come on. Yes, ma'am. Join me here for this. Here we go. I'm gonna hold the mic here.
So I got a couple of questions.
No, ma'am. We got one question.
One question. Domestic violence is a huge problem in our community. And we have a program called our federal courts, an award-winning program. We're the only trauma certified court in the country. We have less than 3% recidivism rate. What kind of commitment can I get from both of you, one or the other, both of you, that you're going to support this program and give us some funding that we are so much in dire need of so that we can heal our community?
Thank you. Sounds like a budget line item, even though we're 300 million short of the city.
Yeah, but we're not going to balance the budget on the most vulnerable. Okay, yeah. So domestic violence in particular, is something, we've got one of the highest rates of any of the counties in the state. And so it's not just with domestic violence, it's not just, that person, but it's that entire family that is impacted by that. So I would commit to supporting the program that you discussed. I also already have led on this. When I was the Undersecretary of the Air Force, I heard all the time about how survivors, mainly women, did not feel like the process was there to help them. They thought it was more there to protect the service member. And so I said, well, let's do a pilot. Let's implement some of the solutions that you all are talking about. And many of them have to do with putting a lot of resources together so that, one, those providers could work together, justice, legal, medical, etc. But then they could also look across and figure out what was really happening in this situation. Was there also financial abuse, right? Was there grooming? Was there stalking, etc.? A 6-month pilot we did at several bases. It was so overwhelmingly successful. we have now fundamentally changed that approach. That's what I was there. I'm not sure what this administration is going to do to keep it, but that's how I work to address that issue in the Department of the Air Force.
Thank you. Your Honor, I've always loved your passion for this community, and I'll tell you a quick story. I met Rosie. She was the first person I met when I came to San Antonio 40 years ago at St. Mary's University. We've been good friends since. And look, I commit to funding this. This is a serious problem. When we talk about homelessness, we forget that it's not just about mental health or drug addiction. Someone who is a victim of domestic violence can become homeless overnight. And we saw it at Haven for Hope. What I want to do is also work with Haven for Hope so we can get more funding. They lost $2 million of funding when New Star left. New Star Energy left. They completely lost that. And so now they have to make it up. And our city, by the way, doesn't fund too much of that. So we have to look at places like Haven for Hope, your program. This is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. Going back to the issue of poverty, same thing. We have to address the root causes of all these things, and we have to do it quickly because these things are happening right in front of us, and we're going down in a downward spiral that if we don't pick ourselves up, then we're not going to fix this. Thank you.
Okay. So real quick, before we leave, I made a comment. I want to make sure everybody heard it. You know, it's projected that we have about $250, $300 million deficit because of what's going on right now. So we'll let everybody speak to that on how they will work through that as they're as being the mayor for the first 100 days.
So a lot of the focus is on budget cuts, and rightly so. We've been spending more than we've been taking in. But what about the top line, the taking in part? Why aren't we working to improve that? Without taxing this bunch of wonderful people that we have, we continue to tax them to death. Why not expand the tax base? Bring in new revenue to the city. New sales tax revenue. Get more visitors to come here, more people to come shop here. More companies to come here to buy property so they can pay property taxes. I think that's a good approach to start tackling that deficit. And look, we need to look at cuts. I've already asked Eric to tell us where he wants to cut. But there's one thing that is off limits, and I've been very clear about this, and that is our fire, EMS, police budgets. We can't touch those. And I'll tell you why. If we let go of those and our crime situation gets worse, then again, the downward spiral, and we can't allow that to happen because then I won't be able to go out and sell San Antonio as a great place to invest if our crime situation continues to be the same way. So I will make sure we focus on not only protecting our budget for those, but also increasing it to the extent that makes you all feel safe in this community.
If any questions in the camera, I'm gonna come over here on this side. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna join her right over here. Close. Let's come behind you there. Oh, see it there. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I think an important approach to addressing any budget gap is not signing our community up to pay for 50% of the new Spurs arena if we don't know how it's going to contribute to our economy. Right? We can't be spending too much money and then we have all the resources to pay for this thing. Like, come on, we got to make it make sense. I think it's really important as well that we are, when I think of a budget, and as the Undersecretary, I manage a $173 billion budget, so a budget 40 times larger than our city budget, and 4 budgets at the same time. What we always did were protect those no-fail missions, right? What do we have to absolutely do? And in this context, it's keep our people safe. The leader's #1 job is to keep our communities safe. And by law already, there is, you cannot defund the police. So when people are saying, putting that out there, that is something that we already cannot do, right? We can talk about the things that are getting defunded, though, unfortunately, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, some other Rolando's Republican friends, unfortunately, that are enacting that agenda. Speak truth to power. We gotta speak tonight. We're in church. We're gonna speak truth. We're in church. Okay, so, yeah, sounds good.
What we're gonna do, we should have set those rules up early. We did, you guys in here. We're not, Rolando, no tax on her particular. Yeah, we were, yeah. No tax on Rolando, no tax on you, nobody tax. Whatever your record is, just stick to your record. Okay, just make it. Come here. Yeah, right over here. Right here? You want right here? Right. I'm gonna pull the microphone. Here we go. Here we go. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I too, this is Project Model.
Mm-hmm.
I too attended the Commissioner Calvin's town hall, and I agree that, you know, it was not, right? The emotions were hot, very hot. I learned a lot. My concern, though, is that, what's going to happen to that facility that's already over there? My concern is seeing a void in this community and the deterioration of that facility. So what I want to hear from each of you is a vision. You know, what do you see that becoming? What do you see that building becoming so that it can have, you know, a viable place in this community for the community to thrive and offer some sort of productive place in the community?
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we start with you, Judy.
Yeah, I agree. When I attended that town hall that Tommy Calvert had, emotions were very high because we were concerned about, well, what is going to be left in our community. And so when I actually sat down with Tommy Calvert again, we talked exactly about this, which is what is possible there. And I like the things that he mentioned, and I think this is a conversation between the county and the city to help realize this, both at the state and at the federal level. Some of the things that he talked about, for example, were working with universities to bring maybe a veterinary program there, right? And really making sure that we take advantage of that infrastructure, but then also that would allow for all of the other development around that space that was supposed to come 20 years ago, right? But I think an educational anchor there makes a lot of sense, and frankly would help us with our animal control challenge in this community. And that level of training, we've got a pipeline that we can help create as well through the Animal Colleges program into something like that. So I liked how he was thinking, and I look forward to exploring other options that would also revitalize that area.
There was an implicit promise that was going to become an entertainment district. And I'd like for it to become an entertainment district using the rodeo as a base. Okay, we have the golf course there. I would hate to touch that golf course. We have to make sure that we complement it with some type of a resort or something that adds value to that community. We also have to be able to work with Coca-Cola. I'm already doing it. What about moving Coca-Cola towards the highway, doing a land swap, and taking that land and creating an entertainment district that we've always wanted? The rodeo wants the AT&T Center, the Frost Bank Center. They already said they want it. I've talked to them. I've done economic development deals of this type. We've created opportunities like this one. And I intend to leverage my relationships with the state or federal level to bring those funds home. For example, working with TechStop, the chairman of TechStop, to create better roads into it. That's what's needed right now. So we need to bring that infrastructure in place, and I will leverage those relationships so we can do that. At the same time, with my hospitality and tourism background, be able to address this issue with industry specialists. The big companies that can come and invest here. So I do have a plan, and it needs to happen, and I'll make it happen. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go this side. Would you decide to go this side now? Pass. Go.
I think you said something about school closures that have been happening, and they have been happening on the east side of town. And one school closure that we know has been a lot of discussion about is Sam Houston High School. And as future mayor, I'd like to hear what you all would do to help this community stop the closure of Sam Houston High School.
So I've been pretty firm in my stance that we need to focus on funding. We need to make sure that we have the appropriate funding so that closures don't happen. Look, my wife is a public school teacher, and I see what she goes through every day. You know, she has a hard time getting software. She's got to go out of pocket to buy supplies. We can't be putting that burden on our teachers. We can't be scapegoating our teachers, our administrators of the schools. We have to be supportive of them. I don't know the specific details of this particular school, of its process, or report card, or anything like that. But if it's something that's burdening this community and preventing our children from getting a quality education, I'm all in. We have to make sure that we do that. And again, I will leverage my relationships to make sure that we bring that funding in. Right now, there's 3 bills going through the legislature with funding that will allow that to happen. So you have my commitment to ensuring that these schools don't get defunded. Absolutely.
When I think of public education, I'm very thankful to be a proud product of not just public education, but all Title I schools. Adams Hill Elementary School, Pease Middle School, John Jay High School, Title I schools. So I know the best investment we can make in our community is always smart, healthy kids. Which is why on my website, one of the things I want to do, first 100 days, hey, show me how many kids, how much talent are we leaving on the table as a result of not fully meeting the need for pre-K in our community, and then show me the bill, right? So then we as a community can say, okay, do we pay this, do we pay that? But also let's understand the cost of not paying this bill and exacerbating the equities in our community. So that's how I approach public education in particular. When it comes to Sam Houston High School, I think this would require us, understanding what exactly is contributing to that, but I don't think it's anything different than what is happening in other places, which is areas are landlocked, you're not seeing a lot of development there, in addition to people also getting priced out, in addition to the impacts of things like charter schools, which is why I'm very concerned about the voucher scam. Let's call it a scam, because it's a scam, which is going to continue to make it harder for for us to have quality public education in our community. And when we talk about bringing jobs to Texas, you know what they're concerned about? Public education. So it's important that we do each of these things at the same time, but understand who's going to fight for it and who will not.
Okay, so we're gonna move toward the, we're gonna move toward the back, the next question is the back of the room. Oh, yes, ma'am, but hold on. One question.
I gotta get the same treatment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as a former president for the San Antonio African American Community Archive and Museum, SACAM, one of the greatest concerns that we had was our seniors and being able to age in place, age in their homes. We see now that we have a ton of vacant properties. We have a lot of issues with just making sure that our seniors get tap into their home equity. They have issues with fracturing airship and cloud entitlements. What are you going to do to help make sure that our seniors get age in place?
Thank you for your leadership there. I appreciate any opportunity that we can help our young people understand their history, which makes them better citizens as young people, but also as they grow older. I think as our community grows, how we can help people continue to stay in their home. I mean, yes, we've got multi-generational homes. We have some programs currently with the city that allows for some of those renovations to take place. I think we can be much more targeted in helping folks understand when those resources are there, but then also understand when those resources are falling short of what people are actually needing, right? I think this is really important because, as we all know, the cheapest and the most affordable home is the one that you're in, right? So how can we, especially when people's equity and generational wealth is tied up in their home, so helping people stay in that is something I would look forward to hearing from this community about, because again, the ways in which and the challenges are unique in certain areas. So, hearing about what it looks like in particular, on the east side or certain communities is something I would commit to. But I think this is an important area, especially as we see, rising property taxes becoming difficult throughout our city.
Well, I think we have to look at the entire budget of each individual, making sure that they have what they need, not only with nutrition, but also with their homes, as you said. Working to ensure to reduce the property tax burden, not only on them, but on their adult children. Because a lot of them want to live with their adult children, and sometimes they have to, when they do, when they are forced out of their homes. And so I go back to the first thing I talked about was government regulation, making sure we remove regulations that are preventing adult children from constructing dwelling units for their aging parents in their homes if that's what they want. So it's a combined effort that addresses the entirety of the needs of our senior citizens, which are one of our most vulnerable in our community. So I'm committed to working with them on that, absolutely.
Okay, we'll come over here now. Somebody, come. Yes, sir. Okay, come meet me here in a minute. Yes, sir. Oh, give me a little microphone.
Well, we keep thinking about crime. And my concern is there are those who believe that more and more police is the answer. What do you all think? Do you believe that more and more police will solve the crime concern here in San Antonio? Or could there be other factors that may be more important? In terms of solving the problem.
Okay.
I think that it all starts with prevention, sir. We have to make sure that we look at the prevention. Look, I've worked with some of you in this room on creating after-school programs, youth programs. I'm helping some of your nonprofits on the east side find money to pay for after-school sports for some of these children that need that support. So one, we have to help them with tutoring. We have to keep them out of trouble in the afternoons while their parents come home. We have to make sure that they have equipment for sports. You know, it costs almost $1,000 to play football. And some of these children are excellent at it, but don't have a facility. So on one side, prevention is good. And yes, right now, we're short 350 police officers in this community. The Police Officers Association has endorsed me, and I'm looking forward to working with them to making sure that our community policing programs are in place. I love the Safe Officer program. I would love to expand that. We need to get to know our officers, and our officers need to get to know us. So I'm very committed to that, but it all starts with prevention.
Okay. So we're going to do now, so we're going to need her comment. You're the next one. You can see the answer comment, and the question was asked, and then we're going to do 2 minutes on closing out. Okay? All right.
I agree. I think we need to be holistic in so where's the gentleman? Oh, there he is. Okay. I think we need to be holistic in how we understand, what is contributing to crime, and also make sure that we have our police officers focus on addressing violent crimes. I've been very concerned. I've also been very clear about my position on utilizing our local law enforcement as ICE agents. I do not agree with that. Taking our local law enforcement off of, again, violent crimes that are actually threatening our community is not the right way. I've been clear about that. I'm the only one up here that hasn't been clear about that. I think it's important as well that we are, when we think about crime, we're thinking about the ways in which, if that is not clear, if that division of labor is not clear, and somebody in our community, for example, is undocumented, right? And if they're a victim of domestic violence, or if they're a victim of wage theft, we are all less safe when somebody who is being taken advantage of is not comfortable calling the police because they don't know who's going to show up, right? So as mayor, I would be very clear to make sure that yes, we are following the law, but when there are other attempts to, again, use local law enforcement as ICE agents, we do not go that way. When we're thinking about crime as public safety in general, I want to make sure also we're thinking about sidewalks and lighting and shade, right? And making sure that that infrastructure which contributes to public safety is available and invested in. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate the very thoughtful questions. I have dedicated my life to public service. I'm thankful for the opportunity to have, again, most recently served as the Undersecretary of the Air Force. And in all of my public service, as an intelligence officer in the Air Force, Iraq War veteran, it has always been about upholding my oath to the Constitution, and when I can, using my position to help people, uplift people, ask the tough questions like I talked about earlier, making sure that we are uplifting people and helping people serve to their full potential. Every day, that job is about asking 2 questions. Do my folks have what they need to be successful? And 2, are we making smart investments? I think those are also fundamentally the questions that the next mayor has asked. I think it's important when we look at somebody's record in public service, what they have accomplished. Did you help people or did you keep people down? Okay, I'm the only one up here running for mayor that wasn't sued by civil rights groups to include the NAACP. It's important. Truth is important. Y'all, truth is important. And you defunded the. Thank you. But thank you for the time. Please visit my website, GinaOrtizJones.com, to talk to that list of things that we're working on.
I came here tonight to tell you about my plans and what I want to do to help this community. Experience matters. You need a mayor who's experienced not only in government, but also in business and economic development, who has the relationships to be able to bring those funds home that we need so dearly. To work with city council in uniting and not dividing, in bringing this community together so we can move forward together. And I'm making my commitment to you today is this, is I want to be able to work with every one of you. You will have a seat at the table and a voice in the conversation under my administration. I'm done with the divisiveness. I'm done with the partisanship. We have to come together. This is what's dividing us and keeping us apart. We have been impoverished for way too long. We have to be able to work with our small businesses, but most importantly, with our families. Our families matter. Families come first. We have to make sure that we work with our children and with our seniors, with our parents, with our small business owners. That's it. There's nothing to it. There's no need for a tax. There's a need for coming together, and I will bring this community together. Thank you.
We start with prayer. We're going to end with prayer. Lord knows we need a lot of it. So we're going to end with prayer. I don't know what Jesus say, but I was going to say, if you can answer any more questions individually, okay?
Let us stand. Our Father, we thank you as we go forward tonight with gratitude for this opportunity to gather citizens, leaders, and neighbors. Join with shared commitment to do the will of our community. We pray tonight that wisdom may guide these two candidates through humility to shape our community, to give them courage and strength to be able to lead the intimacy of our community and what the issues are. As we leave this place, may we carry with us the conviction that dialogue can lead to progress, that respect can lead and foster unity, and together we can build a future that honors the dignity and potential of every person. In Jesus' name we declare.
Amen. Well, thank everybody for coming. But more importantly, listen, please help out with the fruit and everything.
One more time, we want to thank all